Technical.
Oh, I don't know what happened there. Are we back? Hello? Can
Hello.
can you hear me? We
Perfectly.
disappeared totally for a
Oh
moment.
no,
I'm
it's only
so
rock and
sorry.
roll.
That's It's Rock and Roll. Welcome to WATN, which is Where Are They Now? And we've moved into prime time on a Tuesday night, 7 p.m. We also have the live stream app. So please post your questions, ask us anything you want, comments. We love hearing from you. As you know, every week I speak to iconic South African artists and people in the music business, local and international, and we find out how they came to this point of their lives here today after a life very worth lived. Let's dig deep and really discover what makes them tick and how they've continued to stay in the industry that swallows you up, spits you out with regular monotony. I'm always happy to see people that have stayed in the industry. And in the studio today, a true music lover, a musician of sorts. Yes, don't forget that too. An A&R man for various big time record labels, marketing director, creative genius, world traveler, owner of the coolest vinyl store in town. Please welcome Benjy Mudie to the
Oh, what an
studio.
introduction, Cindy. Wow.
Yeah, it's the truth. Lots of truth there, darling. One thing we don't do is lie, unless you do and we don't know about it. So we always try and tell the truth. I always tell my guests as well that this is like a safe, cool place where you own the bragging rights. You can brag about anything you want. Nobody's going to think you're a big deal or anything. They
No,
want to hear the stories, the
no, it's a
dish, the scoop. It's
conversation between
conversation.
friends.
And I always like to start from the beginning. I want to hear about your first foray into the music business, the music industry. Where did you start off?
Hillbrow Flea Market.
You see,
Yeah. So when I left school in 1970, and I joined Gallo as a instrument salesman, and so I
okay,
sold Fender guitars and Wem copycats and stuff
right,
like that down in Code
okay.
Street for 2 years. Then they fired me because I refused to cut my hair. Uh, so I landed
I
up,
love that.
and that's a gospel truth. They said I was a square peg in a round hole, and I would never make anything of my life in the music business.
Well,
And
there
years
you
later,
go, darling.
and years later, I met the same guy, and I went, "Hello."
I swear
But
that's the funniest thing because I quickly tell you that Graham Beggs, I was taken to him when I was much younger, and
mm,
somebody asked me to audition for him. And he said to me, "No, you haven't got a future in this business." And then
oh,
years later, I was to make Graham millions and millions and millions of dollars.
yeah, isn't
I
that the
love those
truth? Huh?
stories.
So
Love those stories.
after that, I got a job working at the Hillbrow Flea Market, working in a record
Okay.
store there, which was a very odd period of my life and very hippie-ish period of my life. I was living in Hillbrow. I used to walk
Yes.
there every day. So I worked there for a while. And then I started working in a record store opposite High Point, EMI Record and Tape Center.
I remember that.
And there I met, I think it was in early '76, Richard Sassoon and Derek
Oh,
Hannon from Real
goodness.
Records.
Okay.
And they came into the shop, and they would come in on a Friday, and they'd pull up outside with the station wagon, and they'd come in and say, "How many copies do you want of Fleetwood Mac Rumors? How many copies do you want of Hotel California for the weekend?" And I go, "Well, I do," and we just got on so well. So they said, "Do you want to come work for us?" And I thought, well, like, that's cool. I'll go work for a record company. Sure, I'd meet lots of girls, get
Well,
into
of course.
clubs. Get into clubs. And so
Yes.
I started on June the 18th, 2 days after the Soweto riots. I
Wow.
started working at Weir Records. But the funny thing about that is I went for the interview first because I had to do a formal interview. And I had this three-piece suit that I bought from Goofy's in Hillbrow.
Goofy's was hip.
Yeah,
It was
that was the
cool.
hippest place. But it was a powder blue three-piece suit with a waistcoat. And I mean, you got to understand, I had black hair falling down to just be, down onto my chin. And I walked in with these Goofy's tackies, which were this high. And I walked in, and they did the interview, and they said, "We've only got one thing. It's like, lose the suit, dude." So I
could
started
keep the hair, but lose the suit.
Oh yeah, I kept the hair, as you can see, a little grayer. So I stayed with Weir. I mean, my initial thing was that I ran their disco promotions department, which was me.
Okay.
So I used to go every Friday and Saturday. I'd take all the latest, greatest, all the singles to the disco, or go around all the clubs and drop off the singles and the whole number. And you got into the club for free, and you did meet girls.
Of course you did. Well,
And
I
it
mean,
was
boys,
fantastic.
but
Yes.
Listen, it was a totally different time, and especially you were working on the other side. So the musicians were playing on the stage and in the clubs, and you were there to hand out their records so that they would get played on radio and by the DJs, because that's how we made hits.
Well, that's what happened next, is because the PR girl that was working for Richard left, and Richard said, "Do you want to be a PR and go to radio?" I was like, "Yeah, cool, I'll do that." Okay. And so I started doing that, and then I went out a lot, and I saw a lot of bands in those days. I mean, that was my life. I'd go home. I'd go home at like 6, 7 o'clock, sleep for 2 hours, and then go out and jawl all night and watch all the bands. And then I met Backstop, Larry Amos and Tim Park.
Oh, wow.
And I think it was late '78. And that was my first signing.
Were they playing at the branch office?
Exactly. They were playing at the branch office, yeah.
I remember that very well. I used to go and watch them and gag. Like, it was like my favorite band. Them and Cedric's band with Josh Sclair. And
absolutely. And there was Duncan Mackay with his brother. And upstairs was Chaparelli's. The gay dance stuff. So you'd kind of go between the two. Yeah. So Backstop was my very, very first signing, and my very first #1 single. Because Joe Bangles went to #1 on Springbok Radio. So that was the beginning of the kind of realization that I love to find artists and develop them. And
you were a miner. You like to mine for the good nuggets, the good gold, the good stuff.
Yeah.
And you still are like that. I mean, you've always been that. That's what I've always seen you as. You're like an archaeologist. You go and you dig and you look around and you bring out these amazing artists. I mean, you, especially in the early days of sort of different music, I would call it alternative music. Benjy, you were the king of the alternative music. I've got to ask you a question. I read something about a band that you played in where the drummer continued to set himself on fire. It's like Spinal Tap, dude.
Okay, so that was the original. We're talking about.
What was that all about?
Okay, so that was Brakpan. I
Brakpan.
I grew up in the
Well,
East
okay, that explains everything.
we had a band in Brakpan in about '72, which had Lucian Windridge from Air Void.
Yes.
And he was about 14 then. And then there was Terry Andalis, and there was this mad Australian drummer. He used to set his kit alight. So he'd pour mess spirits on it during Radar Love, you know. So his name was Aidan Carter. So we used to play around the East Rand, and often he would set himself alight because he'd be so out of it on red jupons and rum.
Red jupon? Don't those diet pulls?
Exactly. And he would pour the mess on himself.
I love it.
He got us banned from Pope John Hall in Brackpan because he set himself alight and he panicked so much he ran to the edge of the section and set the curtains alight. These beautiful red curtains. So I played with the original. That's my kind of claim to fame, right?
Okay.
Is that I played in Void.
Well, that's a big thing. And that's why I said musician of sorts, because even though you were a musician and you've always been, as I said, a music lover, your journey was set out to be a different path. You were meant to be the miner, the archaeologist, the finder. And
alchemist.
The alchemist. I like that, bringing things together, mixing up things. So talk about like, you know, one of the first advertisements on buses and in cinemas about music and all that. You started all that.
Well, you know, Weir Records was the most amazing breeding ground for talent from every level, from artists to marketing and promo people. There was such a great deep passion amongst the people who worked over there. And we were always looking for new, innovative ways to promote artists. So, you know, I can't remember exactly what it was, but it was one day I looked at this bus and I thought, you know, Madonna would look really great on the side of that bus.
You see?
So we did. So we had 10 Madonna buses painted for the True Blue album, the second album.
Okay.
And in cinema advertising was, I think it was Phil Collins' Against All Odds. And I decided, I was so blown away with the song, mainly because I was going through a divorce.
Oh wow! Okay, yes.
Take a look at me now, and
it does. It does. Yeah, take a look at me now.
And so
and it was a great movie. That movie Against All, brilliant movie. Benjy, I just want to tell you, we've got people saying hi. Dave Charles, Mark Vass. Hi, Benjy.
Mark Vass, man. Love him.
And we've got Sherry Cousins, who always comes on. She does all my social media for me. She's awesome. Marion Wittek, she runs my fan page in Germany. She also comes on. And Gail Prosser, who lives in Springs, she says it figures if it was in Brackpan regarding the drummer.
I'm always suspicious of people from Springs.
She's probably like one of the last people in Springs.
Probably, yeah.
Julian, I mean, look, Benj, we've got so many beautiful musicians to talk about and stuff. I'd love Julian to play that one video that we picked earlier. I think everybody's going to remember this, and everybody's going to be taken back to those amazing years when music was truly music.
Cool.
You know?
But the chemist doesn't come. Her mind is in the twilight, and Johnny hears the hum. He wonders if she'll hear him in a night that's full of sound. It could be that she loves him, but the love is underground. Johnny calls the chemist. Johnny calls the chemist. Johnny calls the chemist, but the chemist doesn't come. He shoots a mental arrow from the bow of his mind, and piercing through her consciousness, he wonders what he'll find. She's moving to her lover as he stretches on the bed and pulling back the cover, thinks of Johnny Boy instead. Johnny calls the chemist. Johnny calls the chemist. Johnny calls the chemist, but the chemist doesn't come. Headway in the passage, flicks a light. The lone car on the highway calls for Johnny in the night. She feels the silent offering that he's making to the sky, and wonders if you'll hear her, 'cause she's just about to die. Johnny calls the chemist. Johnny calls the chemist. Johnny calls the chemist, but the chemist doesn't come.
Oh, wow. Wow,
Wasn't
what
that
a
beautiful?
memory. Wow. You know, there's a story behind that song.
Please, that's what we're here for, darling.
So they were the second band that I signed, Falling Mirror. I'd met Tully McCulley.
Falling Mirror. Yes.
And he had sent me an album called Zen Boulders, which was their debut album, and I was just absolutely blown away. They were so different to anything I'd ever heard. And then we put that out, and nothing happened. And then we put out Storming Up the Loft, which I think is an absolute classic. Nothing happened.
Yes. Yeah.
And then we put out The Fantasy Kid, and nothing happened. And I would have put out 20 records because I believed in them so much, that they were so different. I thought they had elements of Pink Floyd, of Dire Straits, and incidentally, their first album actually predates Dire Straits. That guitar style
and that guitar kind of things. Yeah, I love that.
And so when we got to the fourth album, Tully phoned me and said, "Listen, they've done this really weird record, and it's a concept album about a girl in a chemist shop in Cape Town." And I went, "Okay, all right." So they sent it to me. And I mean, I heard Johnny Calls the Chemist, and I mean, yes, it's very Dylan-esque.
Yes.
I thought, this is it. This is the track. This is what I've been waiting for. That one track, 4 albums later, and it went out.
Set it all off. Yeah, that set it off, and then all the albums became relevant again.
Yeah.
You see, and
I think it was because of that belief. And the one thing I learned very, very early when I worked for Richard Sassoon is he said to me, and it's something I've always believed in, is that it doesn't matter if everybody in the company hates what you're doing. If you believe in the artist, then go with your heart and put everything into it, and it works, great. If it doesn't, at least you know you did it. And that's kind of my ethos of A&R.
It is the ethos of A&R, but not anymore.
No, not anymore. No, of course not.
You see, things have changed so much, Benji. In those days, guys would back you on a heart,
absolutely,
on a heart feel, on a vibe. Hey, I like that girl's voice, or I like the way this band sounds. Now it's business, 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 business. Can I make $1? Can I make money from this? Is this thing going to sell? And is it going to be bubblegum? Are we going to spit it out after 3 weeks? Yes. Okay, then it's good. As long as it's bubblegum and we can spit it out after 3 weeks, we'll just release another single. How many singles do they drop? I mean, even like Taylor Swift, she just dropped a single. 3 weeks later, there's a new one. It's like, huh? I didn't even get used to that.
I think it's all based on these days. A&R record companies are very lazy. They've been lazy for a long time, but they
have been lazy.
They completely rely on Spotify plays and YouTube plays.
Yes.
To develop artists instead 100%. Of going into the clubs and finding somebody that has that raw but unique thing. And that's been, for me, the central theme of everything that I've signed has been that everyone has been different. And they've all excited me in some way or another.
Well, they've all had some kind of relevance to what they were doing. So let's talk about some of those bands, because there have been quite a few.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm just going to throw some names. I loved those bands because I was in a different kind of thing at the time. I'd just come out of, I think I was in Zia, or yeah, I was doing the African rock thing. And these bands were the alternative, new romantics, edgy, punky kind of bands. I mean, we're talking about Asylum Kids.
Loved them. Revolutionary.
What that band, I mean, Robbie, he just blew my head off every time I heard him because his energy, his passion for it,
and
that's what transcended.
And his belief in what he was doing.
That's the thing. He knew that this was the right thing to do, and he was right.
Sure.
And avoid.
The avoid thing, I mean, I've had a almost lifelong relationship with the Windridge brothers because we all grew up in Brakpan together. I played in the original band called Void. It was also called at one time we were called Bog Roll. But we went back to being Void.
Bog Roll, okay.
Yeah. I won't even tell you what the poster looked like.
I can imagine.
And then I signed them in 82. And then when CD came out in 86, reissued it again. And then in 2000 did another deal with them. And then 2015 did another deal with them. So we go back so far as a band. They were phenomenal live.
I loved that band. I just loved them. I loved the boys. We were doing a circuit run in Durban the one year. I was in a cover band. It was just before Zia, actually. And it was New Year's Eve, and some burglars had come in and broken in, and they'd killed the night manager.
Oh, wow.
And Eric and Lucian came down with my ex-boyfriend. They all went down, and they called the police and ran and got the police because they'd cut the lines on the switchboard and stuff. So I will never forget them, not only for their music, but they were so good and kind and helpful and nice people.
Because I think there was also, although it was competitive between the artists, there was a commonality, a humanity, a cohesion between artists.
Different to now. We don't have that anymore. We just don't have it. And then we had a competition. We'd play the circuits and all that stuff, but we were all in it together, you know. Just looking who's here. Want to become famous? Yeah, right. Benji, what were you in the lineup that recorded My Sharona in Rhodesia?
No. I'd already left. I'd left in 75 and had moved to Hillbrow.
Okay, yeah, well, that was it, yeah. Let's talk Leslie Ray Dowling.
Oh, Les.
I know.
Okay, so Leslie, perhaps one of the most unique female singers in the world in terms of her phrasing and the way that she delivered a lyric. Tally McCully, the magician, sent me a tape with The Spaniard and Grips of Emotion on it. This is 1981. And he had been turned down by everybody. And I heard The Spaniard. And when I heard that opening line, you know, on some diamond dusty morning, I went, oh my God.
Yeah.
And I have to do this. So I went to Derek Hannon and I said to him, I want to sign this. And I played it to him. And he said, are you mad? This is completely weird. And what do they want? And I said, he wants $2,000, 2,000 Rand advance. And he said, we're not going to pay. I said, I really want to do this. He said, I'll pay it. But like, if it bombs, you're going to lose your job. I went, okay, I'll do it.
Whoa.
So I found Les, and we worked together through 4 albums together, and then regrouped 7 years after that last album and did Unbounded Waters on the Farm, which is one of my great memories.
Oh, wow.
Because Unbounded Waters was an album where I took the biggest gamble of my life in my career, and I shipped the whole of Bop Studios by truck
to
the farm.
The
And we
mobile
had,
studio.
absolutely, we had Ian Herman, Sipho Gomedi, Maritz Lotz, and Alan Lazar on keyboards. And we had Stephen Cook doing engineering. And we cut the whole thing live. And there's a track on that record called Will I Ever Get Over You? And we could not nail that song. You know, it's like when you're in the studio and you can't nail something, right?
I know that very well.
And then Leslie's mother died. And I went to her the next morning and said, "We'll can it. I'll get everybody out of here." And she said, "No, I want to continue." And so we went into the studio and we were jamming around, and Ian Herman, being the superb drummer that he is, started this groove. And then one by one, Sipho, Maritz, and Alan fell in. And suddenly Leslie walked in and started singing the opening lines to Will I Ever Get Over You? Whoa. And I said to Stephen Cooks, "Are you taking this?" And he said, "Yeah." So for 6 minutes, this unrehearsed, organic, deeply emotional recording happened, where we all wept. I wept at the end of it. I still weep when I hear it.
Oh boy, I think that's those magic moments in a career, in a life.
Oh yeah,
that stay with you forever.
Oh yeah, I mean,
those special times.
She could have been, and Leslie knows this, she could have been up there with Tori Amos and a lot of those, but
absolutely, she chose another path.
Yeah,
she chose another path, and understandable. I totally get that, because when you're there and you are so successful and there's so much happening around you, it's sometimes so terrifying.
Oh, it scared the hell out of her. It scared the hell out of Leslie.
And she was just this gentle soul who lived for her music. She loved it. But once it became this public thing and she became a commodity of some sort to the public, it takes away your soul.
Yeah, she was a Fae child.
Yes, very much that.
Yeah.
And you too, Benjy, you're very...
ain't Fae.
No, you ain't Fae, baby. Definitely ain't Fae. But you're very into some different kind of things. I know you've been searching for, is it the lost chord?
Yeah, very much so. It's something that has obsessed me for years and has led me to travel around the world looking for something.
Yes. I want to hear where you've been. You've been to Borneo. You've lived with bloody headhunters. I mean, you've done some stuff, man. My Lord.
Yeah,
really?
I mean.
So I want to know a bit about this. People love to know our stories. And tell me a bit about the search of yours, this, I don't know, what is it, a soul search?
I mean, I think it is a soul search. I mean, very early on in my career, I decided that material things did not mean that much to me, and that what I wanted to do was experience life. And so I started to travel. Yes. And because I have a great love of tribes, tribal culture.
Native American and all that
Native
stuff.
Native American, Bornean, Chinese, everything. So I traveled the world, and wherever I went, I looked for the music. So I would be in Agra in India, and I'd go to the concierge and say, "Where can I find a non-tourist gig where they're going to be playing classical music?" And so I would take a rickshaw in the middle of nowhere to this tiny, dingy little place, and there'd be a guy, playing tabla and a guy playing sitar and santur, and they'd be jamming, and I'd be grooving away, So, I mean, I have a great love of world music, and indeed of everything. I mean, my taste is borders on probably schizophrenic.
Well, I was just going to say, I mean, if we're talking sort of culturally alternative stuff, like what you were doing, like with the Asylum Kids and Little Sister, even all that kind of B World. What is that? B World. I've never even heard of it. I just saw a picture of them all with their underpants, and I thought, wow, that's fascinating.
Well, the thing is that 1989 was a really killer year for me, because I signed Little Sister, Mango Groove, Mark Alex in a row, and all three of those were mega. B World came at a time when nothing was happening, and I was desperately searching for something to work with. And I went to a talent competition, and I watched 14 bands.
In Brackpan?
No,
I'm kidding.
In Newtown. And the last two bands were Blue Chameleon, who became Boo, and B World. And B World had this rock and roll swagger, that thing, that hiss. And that's, you see, it's not always just about the music. I mean, that's really important. I mean, John Selby from Petit Cheval, absolute superstar. Everything, had everything going for him. B World had this rock and roll swagger. They were like the Red Hot Chili Peppers meets the Stones.
Yeah, okay.
And so I signed him. That simple.
Wow. And?
They broke up.
I love that.
We had a #1 single with Rain in 1995. I then went to England and sorted out a 21-date tour of England for them. Not earning a lot of money at all, because you know what it's like. You've done that. But a gig, and I came back and I met them at the Question Mark in Melville, and they broke up in front of me.
Right in front of you. In
front of me. I walked in feeling great, and I walked out feeling depressed.
Oh, I'm sorry. But this business, I mean, things like that are just a dime a dozen.
That's I think it happens in every country. I think being a musician is such a tenuous way of life.
Yes.
That you
Sorry, I talk about that a lot, especially because I'm talking about music people now, and I'm talking to music people, which always gives you a different perspective, because all of them have a different perspective. Speaking to Pops Muhammad, and he's involved in the indigenous music, and for him it's a totally different thing. For us in mainstream, people wonder, why do so many musicians kill themselves, or why do so many musicians become drug addicts? This business, it is consumptive. It takes over your whole persona in so many ways. And if you're not smart and sussed and have tools, emotional tools to keep everything together.
But even so, even with that, the machine chews you up. You know what I mean?
It does chew you up. The machine,
if you come up with something revolutionary, and this is my theory about music and what's wrong with music now, is that no sooner does a new movement come out that is revolutionary, then the commercial companies co-opt it and then mutate it into something more palatable, then put it out and just. I mean, punk's a very good example. I mean, the Pistols and the Clash were great, and then came. Within a year, you could go to Marks and Spencer's and buy ripped T-shirts with safety pins.
Because they made them into commercial product.
Helen Dubois just sent a little message.
There you go, Helen.
Hello, baby.
She's in Ireland, your place of birth, honey.
Yeah, well, sort of. My mother's from Ireland.
Okay. So you were born here. Sorry.
No, I was born in Scotland.
Scotland?
Scottish boy.
Hell, I didn't know.
I am.
Well, that's something you caught me out on. Laura Artico, you wrote a song with the Lonman sisters. You got my heart.
God. Yeah, that's right. No. That's about a girlfriend of mine. I was pursuing her, and she had 3 guys pursuing her, and I thought the only way that I could win was to write a song about it. So I did.
And did you? You won. Hallelujah.
Spent 8 years with her, yeah.
Wow, that's quite a long one. Good for you. And we've got Calvin Mark Elston, who's also a fabulous artist. I love him. Hi, Cal. Love him. Marion, another teacup. She always asks me about my teacups. Yes, I have I have a few teacups, Marion. And Fame Organization also always come on. I just always like to see that. Helen. Yay. Helen,
love her. Now, she
love
used
her.
to be called Misbehave. So
Misbehave.
Yeah, because when I left Tusk,
yes,
I left, and the first person that I met was Craig Dodds from Egyptian Nursery, and he said, "Listen, I've got this song called the Monday Club." So I auditioned a whole bunch of female singers, some of whom I'm not even going to mention, and Helen Dubois came along, and absolutely nailed the song. So I said, "Okay, you're going to be a pop star. You are now Misbehave." So we did the Monday Club, and then later she did a phenomenal single which still gets a lot of airplay called Anything. But one of my favorite people, Love You, Baby.
I also love Helen. We've written a song together as well. We wrote something for the Soap Girls. Do you remember the Soap Girls?
I signed them.
Oopsie. Sorry,
Boy,
I didn't know.
I tell you stories about the Soap Girls. Oh my
God. I wish we could.
We need a couple of hours.
I know that.
Okay, I'll tell you one story.
Please tell us one story about the Soap Girls. Come on.
So they flew up from Cape Town for a meeting with me. It was about the time of the album.
With Mama.
With
Mama. Of course.
With Posh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And we already had an absolute #1 hit with Sour from the album.
Yes, I remember Sour.
Spot on. And they flew up from Cape Town, and I met them at OR Tambo. And I was standing waiting for them in the reception area, and I heard all the shouting and screaming going on. And I heard all these 4-letter expletives flying left, right, and I could hear Posh going, "Ah," and the girls and everything, and the people shouting. And out came a troop of traditional Muslim people. Came out, and what had happened is the girls had got on the plane wearing thigh-high gold boots, gold G-strings.
As they did,
and very, very skimpy tops.
Yes.
And of course, upset most of the people.
Upset the cart.
On the plane.
Oh my God.
They came out and they were not phased. You can't phase those girls. I mean, look at them now. Look at them now. They're punk superstars.
Yeah.
You know?
Are they living in England?
They live in Cape Town. And
they're in Cape Town now.
And they tour. And I love those girls. I'm sorry it didn't work, but I just couldn't do it anymore.
No, it's a lot going on. But that's exciting. That's rock and roll, baby. It's rock and roll. Woo!
It was.
Come on. Where's the days of, some real excitement again? I want to freak out. I want to be absolutely gobsmacked. I don't know the last time I was. I want to watch a band and go, this is amazing.
Revolution is coming.
Is it? I hope so, because I just think that music has slid into the den of mediocrity.
Well, this reminds me of the late 50s when you had Bobby Darin and Bobby V and Engelbert Humperdinck and everything like that.
It's all pretty and
then 4 boys from Liverpool came out.
Yeah.
And then another 5 boys from Dartmouth in England called the Stones. And they came out and revolutionized music. And the Pistols did that, and metal did that. Alternative did that. It's coming. Hip hop did that.
Something has to come. Something.
It will come.
Because, there's always more. I mean, I don't believe music's covered every genre. There's always more because there's so many mixed things now. There's like country, rock, blues. There's, there's so many mixtures right now of music that I'm hoping for something to come out and just smash me in the face.
There's a lot to sing about right now.
There is a lot to sing about.
Sure, absolutely.
And that's where the music came out, the revolution, from the Leonard Cohens to the Bob Dylans to the Joan Bayers to Jackson Brown, writing about what was going on. I love Jackson Brown so much.
Me too. I'm a big fan.
Me too. I love Jackson Brown. He's fantastic. Have we got any more photos there? Because I know we got some cool photos. Julian, our darling producer, Julian. Look at Benjy, retro, fresh. Woo!
Oh, how's the right? The Chinese shirt really is something else. So what you have there, you have on the left-hand side, you have Naomi Younger from Black Sunshine. And then you have the members of Tate, the next two. Then Cofield behind there, who obviously. Then you have me and the other two members. And that's at the 5th birthday of Fresh Music.
That is phenomenal. Nice picture. Oh, my boys. Now, I love these boys.
Oh, the helicopters.
They were so cool. The helicopters. Man, we did all those big shows, those big, those festivals. Those festivals. And we used to do the Rand Show. And we used to do the Standard Bank Arena. And all those things with Sweat Band and freaking everybody. Oh, Jonathan.
In typical rock star mode.
He was a rock star.
He was a diva too.
Yeah, I'm sure.
I love him.
Jonathan, I love him. You were a diva. Yeah, but we like to do. And this?
National Wake.
I love it. I remember they were very deviant, very different thing.
1981. I mean, I met them. They lived in the street behind Tusk Music. And and I used to hear this music coming. I used to be on the patio, and I used to hear this music coming from this house. Yes. So I wandered over, and these guys were completely toked up and just jamming away. And I got speaking to Ivan Cady, and we did the album. And it's a really revolutionary record about the time, 1981, with South Africa being in Angola and everything.
Yes.
And we were on the verge of kind of breaking out. And then, boom, the axe came down on it. It was just everything
revolutionary.
The radio just shunned it. Press shunned it. The government shunned it. Everybody shunned it.
Because in those days, at those times when things started happening, like even Zia, some radios wouldn't play some of our stuff. They considered us...
You were too mixed. You shouldn't have been doing that. Yeah.
We were too mixed, number one. We were saying things, we were talking about what was going on, but in a very nice way. It wasn't like, kill everybody. It wasn't that. But they didn't like it. So my phone was tapped. They used to listen in because they thought I was some kind of revolutionary diva Zulu rock queen or something. I don't know what they thought I was. And I remember being at a festival where I was wearing a Kasatu t-shirt. And they made me take it off. And I said, you want me to take it off? I've got nothing on underneath. So you want me to walk around naked, but I must take my t-shirt off. Well, just turn it inside out, they said, so that I don't walk around naked. And I had to. So, yeah, I mean, that
period.
Yes, that was very, very...
81 to 86 was very hairy here.
Very hairy. And even just after that, because we were doing a lot of tours to France at the time. We'd been to France like 3 times or twice, whatever. And it was very... the spotlight was on, put it that way. The spotlight was on South Africa. It was like, you've got to make this move now. You got to do something.
Well, Concert in the Park was the turning point.
That was it.
That's where
I
think for everybody, I think even the government looked at this and went, you know what? People are getting on. People are getting on with each other. Can't stop it.
Can't hold back the tide.
And we were right.
Oh, of course we were right.
Yeah.
We had to make it happen. And there you go. Music changed that.
Of course. Absolutely.
The power of music. Now that, I have to have that picture. That is one of the glamourest, coolest, vibiest picture. And you in your bloody Pierre Cardin shirt or whatever the frickin' hell it was. Absolutely stunning, Benj. Look at that.
That is Jen and Debs and I at our infamous, and they'll tell you about it, tequila shoot
Yes.
where we with David Dodds, and we started at 10 o'clock in the morning and went
David
through,
Dodds.
yeah,
I know David.
remember David. So and went through
Yes.
to about 4 o'clock, at which time I was way past the wind, and the shirt came off, and they got me wasted. We all got so wasted there. Love those girls.
I
Love
love
those
it.
girls.
And the porn star moustache was so lovely. Oh, it was so lovely.
You know, when you look back and you look at your fashion sense, you go, oh my God, what were you thinking?
Tell me about it.
That's one of them.
Well, I thought it was quite delicious. It just worked for the look. I think that was beautiful. You've done some interesting things, not only musical. You bungee jumped off the Vic Falls?
Yeah. One of my crazy things.
Oh my God!
I've jumped out of airplanes.
You did the Zambezi.
Yeah, I did the
white
Zambezi,
water rafting.
I did that.
Tell me. I want to know about what's it in you that makes you want to do these things?
Fear. Overcoming fear.
Interesting. Hey?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, I'm scared of heights. Okay. So I decided to jump off the Vic Falls Bridge. Even though I'm a Pisces, I'm a water sign. I'm scared of water. Oh, you? Okay, that's why you and I get on so well.
I know.
I've done different. I've always wanted to stretch the barriers of my life, and in every way possible, musically, chemically. You know, I mean, I've been to South America. I've done ayahuasca. You know, I've been with the Apaches. You know, so I've tried to kind of open myself up to try and find out what it is that I am. Do you know what I'm saying? I still don't know.
Of course I know what you're saying. I think I've too been on that journey. I'm doing a shaman workshop right now, which it makes me feel like there's knowledge in my bones from the past about this. I think every life is a journey. It's what we do with it. And I can't judge anybody that doesn't want to do anything with it. I could not say, oh, come on, get off your ass and do something. Everybody's life is their own. Absolutely. And their own journey. But when I hear something like that, it resonates with me. I've also always been looking, I'm trying to see, but not to the extent of jumping out of planes and stuff like this. It doesn't even interest me. It's like the thought of doing that is like, why would I want to do this to myself?
Well, you know, once I jumped, I was okay.
Of course, but before the jump, it's like, oh my God.
Because when you jump, you go like, so that's it. The control's gone.
That's it. Of course.
I'm in
and you have to let go.
I'm in the hands of the gods. If my parachute doesn't open, it's Casey Jones.
Yeah.
You know? But it was good.
Or Indiana Jones. You know.
More like Casey Jones.
Wow. Jules, do we have any more videos there? I'm wondering, I'd love to play something. I know we've got something very special for the end of our talk, but we've still got time. And I'm just loving talking to you so much, especially getting in your head. Because I think that's, you know, whatever drives us, it starts from a young age. And some people will be driven by that car, and some people will change cars. And they'll say, I'm not going to be staying on this car. I'm going to go onto that car or that train or whatever. And I think what you've done in your lifetime, you have faced many demons and
had fun with them too.
And
had fun with them too.
I'm sure you have, which is brilliant. But you still retain this joie de vivre, you know, this joy for life, this I'm looking still, I'm not done yet. And
Well,
I
I'm not.
relate so much. I relate to that. That's why we're saying, where are you now? What is your life about right now? After all this, and I look at it on paper, it's beautiful. And what
Well,
a life you've had.
I mean,
What
after I left,
keeps you going? Tell me what keeps you going? What is your hunger besides the lost chord?
musically, it's to discover something that makes me emotional. So if I look at the simplest things work for me. There's no parameter for me with music. When I heard Nell the first time, it was like I'd met a muse. When I heard Cofield's Ceremony album, which is still to this day probably and possibly my favorite album of all time. When I did when I did Black Sunshine, two guys with acoustic guitars and two voices with no bass and no drums, singing about being born in a taxi, or whether it was Elvis Blue, doing the Idols thing, and winning Idols and having that huge hit with Lighthouse. It's songs that drive me. I'm a song guy more than anything else. I'm a song guy. I love songs. I think the ability to, that's why I'm so envious of people like you, because you guys write these beautiful songs. And
but you also write beautiful songs. You also do. You also write songs. It's in you. And yes, when you say something like that, I feel very honored by that, because when I write a song, I write definitely from the heart, from the soul, from feeling. I don't think I've ever written a song that's just gone, I'll just put this out, and it's a good thing, because then people feel something. I've got to tell you, there are people joining here. We've got Tony Gaza. Hi, Tony, darling.
Tony, great drummer.
Tony the drama.
What was that band? Bad Habits.
Bad Habits.
No, they were called Fat City.
Fat City. He was the best. Wouter van der Venter. We've got Carmen Luis Rodriguez, loves the show. Thank you so much. And we've got Mark Vass back again, and Bev Lipman. Hi, Bev. So we always get people that are really into hearing what we've got to say here. And Benjy, there's a story about you and Lemmy and Jack Daniels. Come on, baby. Let's hear it. Let's hear it.
So
first, tell people Lemmy's from Motorhead, one of the biggest.
That is right,
bands.
and a noted party animal.
A noted party animal.
So when I would go every year 4 or 5 times to America when I was with Tusk, to conferences and marketing updates and things, and I would always stay at the Sunset Marquis Hotel, which is the ultimate rock and roll hotel.
Totally.
And so when you walk into this little boutique hotel, on the left-hand side is this tiny bar, and on the right-hand side is a tiny little dining room. And about 2 days after, I can't remember what year it was, but it was 2 days after the earthquake, the big earthquake. So
94.
there was still 94. So of course you were there.
I was there then. Yes, I was there.
There was that smell of ozone in the air, and you had the aftershocks and everything. So I arrived late at night and kind of dumped my stuff in there and decided that I'd go down to the bar. And who should I encounter in the bar but Lemmy, Billy Idol, and Slash.
Oh my God. Oh boy. Okay. Done and dusted.
And they are wasted. So I belly up to the bar and order a double Jack. And the American drinks are really big.
Yes, they are.
Double Jack Daniels here is like this. They're like that.
That's a double Jack Daniels.
And he leaned
it's
over.
A double.
A double, a real double. And he leaned over and said, I see we like the same poison. I went, oh my God, it's Lemmy. Dude, how are you? And then I looked behind me and there was Billy Idol with that peroxide blonde hair and Slash, who looked like he was going to die at any moment.
I love it.
The rest of the story you'll find in my book when it comes out.
Oh, I look forward to that. But I bet you got pretty wasted.
Oh boy.
Oh
Oh
boy.
boy. I think
And stories.
the
Yes.
worst time I ever got wasted is with the most unlikeliest pop star you've ever met in your life, Laura Branigan.
Oh man. Wait a second. That is my PR agent Tim, who lives in the
Yeah,
UK.
Tim Hill. Yeah,
Tim Hill used to run Laura Branigan's promo and stuff.
right. Wild
And
girl.
he said she was like the real deal.
She was
Laura
terrifying.
Branigan. She
Terrifying.
was
Terrifying girl. I loved her to bits. 6'4" Irish American girl with a
oh,
constitution. She would have done Lemmy and easy peasy.
and she was such a great singer, beautiful
And
songwriter.
a beautiful soul.
Oh, those kind of things, those are the memories, eh?
Yeah, I guess so.
When is the book coming out?
Well, I'm slowly. I found all my
Fiddling.
diary. I found all my diaries from '76
Okay, that's brilliant.
for when I joined Weir. So I'm busy
Okay.
going through it and noting names down and wondering who was that person that I dated on that night. I can't remember that girl. And throughout 1980, Lance James comes up. You know,
Well, of course.
because we did an album together then.
Absolutely. In 1980.
We did the Keep It Country album. That's kind of when I sort of met Lance.
So I want to talk about Lance, but I want to talk firstly about your radio career, how that evolved from being in record companies and A&R and finding gigs and finding bands and finding music. Where?
Do you know Richard Jones? Richard Jones was working for Radio 2000, and he's quite a party
yes, of
animal.
course, Richard, yes.
Yeah, so him and I used to have lunch and hit the wine and the whole number, and we used to talk about music, and he'd always say, "Man, you just know so much about classic rock music. Why don't you do a radio show?" And I was like, yeah, sure. And one day he phoned me up and he said, "Dude, Thursday night, 8:00, you're on
Love
there."
it.
And I went, "What?" And I went in and I did a 4-hour show, and I just loved it. And so I was with 2000 for about 4 or 5 years, and then I left there and I was off air for a while. Then 702 offered me a gig playing 60s. And I mean, I grew up in the 60s, the Small Faces and the Stones and the Kinks and stuff like that. So I did that, and then I left at the right time, and then joined Hot 91.9 every Sunday.
So that's where you are now.
Yep, playing all chilled stuff, play Roxy music, play Melissa Etheridge, you know.
Oh, and I love
Cindy Alter.
You do? You play Cindy Alter?
Yes, I do. Hole in the Ring, of course.
Thank you. Yes. So I think it's the first time we've ever worked together in the studio.
It is.
It was a beautiful experience for me, honestly, because firstly, we got it. We knew what you said you want this, and I was able to give you what you wanted. But the most important thing was the chilled, very laid back way that you work, and I fit in with that because that's me. I don't get, I can't do this and I need attention. I need to be just let go. I'm one of those artists, just do this. And sometimes when I do commercials and stuff and they say, we want a rock thing, we want a this thing, that's different. I'm being coached because they want a certain thing. But on a song that I'm singing, I just want to be given the free rein, little bit of direction, and happy to get direction and then let it go. And you did that. And Benjy, was an absolute pleasure. And I hope we're going to be doing that again sometime. I would love to work with you at any time.
I'd love to hear some of your news. You've got that one song that I really like.
The Pilot of My Dreams.
Yeah.
I've reworked the verses. They're lovely. I think you're going to love it. I've got like 4 new songs I'd like to play for you, Benjy.
Okay, good. I'll look forward to that.
So I'm a busy little beaver, especially during lockdown, you know.
Yeah.
I was just asking, so music to you still is the food of love?
When I left Universal in 2013, because I worked there for 4 years as a consultant, I kind of saw the changing face of the industry and decided that I was pretty much an anachronism in that sense. So I decided to kind of like, you know what, just let it go. You've had a great career, but I keep finding people that make me excited, and I keep hearing songs that make me interested. And so I keep saying, that's it, I've done it. I've been there 40 years. It was great. I signed some of the greatest bands in South African music.
Yes.
There's something that still drives me, you know, there's this thing of, it's not about hits, it's about making music.
Yes.
And so that's what led me to doing Swan Song, which you were part of.
Yes, which we are going to talk about now, because that was a very special project.
Yeah.
This is our little coup de grace, the end of our interview. I have had such an amazing time.
Yeah, me too.
I've just loved this. Has been such a story. We've got the most gorgeous people online with us, loving what we've done.
And we haven't even touched it.
And we haven't even touched it. We got to do all these people again.
Part 2. I know.
Oh God, yes. There are so many people. There's got to be a part 2. Just so you know, next week I'm going to be interviewing the one and only, also Paul Ditchfield.
Oh my word! From the Bats.
From the Bats, and his acting career and everything. So Paul's going to be awesome. He's also got some crazy stories.
I'm
I
sure.
always like to thank Discover TV for giving me this platform. I love the show. I love that you support the show. The more you support it, the longer we can stay. This last little bit for me, Benjy, is very, very close to my heart as well. Lance James is your father. Well, he was your father-in-law.
Mm-hmm.
You've known Lance a long time.
Mm-hmm.
How did you come to do this amazing last Swan Song with Lance?
Well, you know, Lance is still my father-in-law, even though
I know that. He is your father-in-law, of course.
And it started about 10 years ago when LJ would come around, which he did, you know, because I'm married to his daughter, Dion.
Yes.
And he would come around and have lunch, and then I'd play him music. I'd play him the country blues. I'd play him jazz. I'd play him rock stuff. And we'd have this kind of, because, you know, Lance is very open-minded about music.
Yes.
I mean, he was Mr. Country. He was Big Daddy, you know.
Of course.
And I said to him one day, why don't we do what Rick Rubin did with Johnny Cash and take a bunch of songs that you would not normally be associated with and do them in a different way. And so he went, yeah, let's do that. And then he kind of backed off, and 10 years later rolled by, and one afternoon, I think it was in 2018, we were having lunch and playing some stuff, and he said, do you remember that idea you had? I said, yeah. He said, come on, let's do it. And Dion actually said to him, Dad, if you're going to do it properly. Yes. So I went away and assembled the most arcane list of songs that I could find. And we sat down.
Kudos to you. Kudos to you.
Thank you.
Really. You picked songs, Lord Almighty.
So we went from like the sort of 1936 gospel blues of Blind Willie Johnson to Otis Redding, and to the staccatos and Crichton and stuff like that. And Lance and I went through all these songs, and I wanted him to feel comfortable with the songs. And right at the end, the last song that came was, I was driving along and I was listening to Metallica's Black Album. And I heard Nothing Else Matters. And it's one of those kind of those light switch moments that you have as a person, where you go, I want to do this song, but I want to do it completely differently. I want to do it with banjos and violins. And so that's what we did. And Matthew Fink, bless him, one of the best producers in the world. He wrote this beautiful string piece in the beginning of the song.
Yes.
And Lance said to me, who the is Metallica? Yes. And I kind of said, well, they're a heavy metal kings. But he got it. He got the ethic of the song. So we went in and we did it. And then we had Leonard Cohen's Tower of Song, which you did an amazing vocal on. And we had some country stuff and we had some folk blues. And right at the end, Martin Schofield on guitar and Matthew Fink on shaker, myself on vocals, Lance on vocals, and Robin Auld on harmonica, did a one-take version of Muddy Waters, Rollin' and Tumblin', which ends off the album.
It's epic.
It was. You can hear us laughing at the end because
I know, but that's what's so beautiful. It's so real.
Yeah, I didn't want it on the album. They wanted it on the album. I'm not a singer, but I got away with it.
That was perfect. Yes, you did. Benjy, that's something, when you say, when you get to a point and you say, maybe I'm done, I've done so much. I know how you feel because I feel that way a lot. That's, I mean, what else? People are tired of, Cindy Alter again, what's she going to do? Blah, blah, blah. And yet, people sit and wait for some new thing from someone like you. They do. Because they know who you are. They know your history. They know what's coming with it. What's coming with it is an ethos, a feeling, maybe the lost chord.
Yeah,
There's
maybe.
something, it's got something that it's coming with. It is weighty with beauty.
Never ends. I mean, I love working with musicians. I find them an incredibly spirited and blessed group of people. And I have utmost respect for anyone who gets up on a stage and plays a song or writes a song. And I love being in the studio and I love working with musicians. And I hope I can continue doing it. I'm waiting for the next thing to come along, I guess.
Well, there you go. Or something that you might not think is a thing and it ends up being a thing. Because those things happen too. Why don't we love those?
Those are the best.
Those are delicious.
Absolutely.
Oh, Benjy, I've had such a beautiful time talking to you.
Thank you,
I could definitely have gone on. I mean, we've gone over time and I don't care. All our beautiful, beautiful messages from everybody. Thank you so much. Kelvin said, Robin Auld is the reason I became a musician. You see, there we go. There's the inspiration for things like this. Laura, thank you. All the people that come and say hi. Julian in his sick bed, we wish you the best. We wish you well, sweetheart. Stay strong. We love you. We need you. And to all of you on Discover TV, peace and love. Benjy, what an absolute pleasure, my darling.
Love you, my darling.
Till next time. Let's see this video as we play out. Let's see this. This is going to be beautiful.
Cool.
Hello there, I'm Lance James. Well, about 10 years ago, Benjy Mudie came to me with this idea of doing an album which would be very different to the kind of music that I had been recording, as you said, traditional country music. Very different, and he wanted to explore new markets for me. At the stage, I was very wary, and we weren't able to put it together. But Benjy shelved the idea, but did not forget about the idea. And through the years, he's mentioned once or twice to me over a lemonade or two, saying, one day we're going to do that album. And now is the time. Benjy has come to me with a collection of songs, which 90% of which are totally different to what I do. And I realized then that he has a point. I could hopefully retain the audiences that I have and the people who have been buying my records for all these years, that I could reach new markets. So it's a challenge to me, and I think it's an exciting challenge. I'm very excited about some of the songs that Benjy's come up with. I've left most of the compilation work to Benjy. He's decided and chosen the tunes. And some of them are very different. I've mentioned that 2 or 3 times now, but to emphasize how different, I mean, even a song is chosen by the rock group Metallica. He's even chosen a song. Fortunately, he hasn't gone beyond what he thinks I can do and playing to me and I think I can handle those. So Metallica's in there. There's Brooke Benton. There are a lot of people who have recorded songs that I've enjoyed through the years. So I'm very excited and looking forward to this new venture. So thank you, Benjy Mudie.
I'm Matthew Fink, co-producer of Lance James' Swan Song, and welcome to our studio. I became involved in the Lance James project via Just Music CEO Charles Kuhn, who was approached by Benjy Mudie, and the two of them were devising a plan and talking about doing this album, and Charles approached me and said, would this be something I'd be interested in? And of course, I jumped at the project. I dabbled in country before, but from a country punk perspective. So it was really exciting working with the real deal and also working with an absolute South African icon such as Lance James. And a great team. I mean, we're working with legendary record man Benjy Mudie, Charles Kuhn. We've got Martin Schofield from Bonoboom on guitar. Great lineup of musicians. And working with Lance. Lance is an absolute gentleman. He's a true gentleman's gentleman. Beautiful guy, soft-spoken, takes direction really well, and it's a little bit intimidating working with him because he's such a legend, and here I am, sort of telling Lance James, to retake his vocals, but we take direction very well. We've got a very strong team, and I think there's a lot of trust being built up. It's an absolute, great working with him. The repertoire was put together by Benjy Mudie, who A&R'd the album. So it's a collection of a lot of classic tunes that we know and love, and our goal is to you will recognize the song. We're not looking to do a karaoke version, but at the same time we're bringing something new, something fresh to the party. We want it to be organic, we want it to be real. Very strong repertoire, but we're reworking some classics, and there are a couple of surprises in there as well for you.
Lance James is a legend. And to be able to sing a song on his album, his Swan Song album, is such a great honor. Now, I've had the privilege to sit next to him a couple of times on stage, actually, and social events. And, he's the most compassionate, kind, loving man, and such a sweetheart. He always just has the nicest things to say about everybody, and in his presence you feel so loved and accepted and wanted, and he always has the nicest things to say to me. Besides that, I just feel that to be able to sing with him on this album is a great gift, not just to me but to everybody, and I feel really honored and thankful to be part of it.
Hi, my name is Hilda Klobatla from the group Mahotela Queens, originally known as Mahlatini and the Mahotela Queens, the most popular group in South Africa. And really, I must say, I was shocked when they told me that, when my manager told me that we're going to record with LJ. I was like, my God, no, it can't. LJ, really, even on air, they are going to play it over and over and never stop to play it again and again, because really, for two African black and white legends to come together, and with the little girls that I'm having again, it's really a great thing. Even to them also, they are saying, this is really big. What we are having, this is a God's blessing.
And it's my pleasure to welcome everybody here this afternoon. Wonderful to see such a great turnout of media, friends, family, and of course artists, and of course our man of the moment, Big Daddy LJ, and the producers, the guys that really pulled out all the stops to deliver this record for us today, Benjy Mudie and Matthew Fink. So on behalf of everybody, thank you. So I'm not going to talk too long because the format for today is to let these guys tell you about the record, to play a couple of tracks and talk about the individual tracks, and make it an interactive experience. It's from us just to mark the occasion on the release of the project and to say thank you. And again, we are delighted that you chose us to be your partner on this project.
Thank you, Charles. Thank you, Charles. Thank you to you and your team at Just and Next Music. Thank you. As I said, and I'm going to use the word again for about the 10th time because it's warranted, I'm very flattered. Thank you so much indeed. Thank you.
There will always be country music because it tells the story of people like you and I. It tells the story of the lady from whom you buy bread or eggs or milk in the morning. The everyday person, it could be the bank manager. It's honest music. It is true music. It is about people like you and I and people that we know. And I do believe that people will want to hear that forever. I don't think they're going to say necessarily that I don't like that or I'm tired of that subject. It'll always be. There are people that say country music is sad. Well, so is opera.